Hello, everybody. So happy to be here with you. September 4th, so just a few days before the first day of the R3.0 conference and confluences. And we're really excited to be with Ralph, Tom, and Bilbo as part of the second conversation series hosted by StoryMoss, where we try to weave and report stories of bioregioning and regenerative work around the world. So very excited about the conference. Thank you so much, Bill and Ralph, for saying yes to our invitation to be more involved. So StoryMoss, this new little magazine born in the design school for regenerating Earth, where we all belong, has this incredible, probably too big of a mission, but we're excited to do whatever we can. So thank you again, and I'm going to pass to my co-founder.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And I am Megan Lindo, and we are so thrilled to be here with you today, Bill and Ralph. And as Emmanuel mentioned, as the conveners of the R3.0 conference happening in just a few days, I just wanted to say that it feels like such an incredible opportunity, this conference that gathers people from different bioregions around the world. We were just speaking before we started recording about the excitement of the self-organizing, the interweaving that can happen when you create a platform that allows people to gather in these fractal, across different levels and at the fractal scales, both online in a kind of global building movement that's building energy and building coherence within itself, but also then really deepening in, that as you can explain, elaborate in a moment. There's also this wonderful aspect of confluencing that's emerged for this year, which is so exciting, giving people the opportunity to really deepen into their bioregions on the ground. For example, myself in South Africa, where there's so much incredible work happening, but the kind of ideas and terminology and concepts of bioregioning are still very unknown and very confusing to people. So it's such a wonderful opportunity to just gather and start to weave with what's happening on the ground and kind of bring forth some of these bioregioning threads and see how they can enrich and contribute, across all these different levels of what's happening globally and locally. So thank you so much for giving us a few moments of your time so we can introduce this very exciting conference. So I thought I would just ask you both to say a few words about what's really exciting you about this gathering that we're about to all be part of. And what do you really, what's exciting you most about what's emerged, what's emerging, what can potentially come out of something like this?
Thank you so much, Megan and Emmanuel. And that's a really great question to start on. I may go ahead and stop sharing the slide here so that we can kind of concentrate on sharing our stories. I want to start with just a huge thank you and gratitude to StoryMoss for being a media partner with us, particularly around this storytelling in conjunction with or in parallel in weaving with the conference, because I think that element is really so important. As you noted, that many people are very early in their journey in terms of understanding bioregioning or bioregionalism. And so I guess I'd say there are two things that come to mind for me in response to your question of sort of what's exciting me most. One would be at the sort of the conference itself and the content of the conference. We sort of structured it in a way that could speak to people who are relatively new to bioregionalism and be in depth enough that folks who are really studied and practiced in bioregionalism would also gain a lot from the program. And so, we structured the program in many ways around our own gardens, we call them, focus areas in the bioregional movement. So in particular, bioregional knowledge commons, bioregional governance, resource flows in the bioregional field. And I'm actually going out of order here in terms of the issues that we're addressing. Also, the sort of the fractal nature of bioregionalism really cohering at the global scale. So not just individual isolated bioregions, but how do we braid together across that? And so I guess the themes of relationality, pluriversality, and coherence are sort of topmost in my mind. And I think that the speakers that we've gathered together I'm really excited about. So one side of my excitement is on the content of the conference. The other is on the confluences, as you mentioned. So we should give a nod of appreciation and acknowledgement to our partners, Neil Davidson and Anna Billen, who piloted with their partners, Equinox Collective in Belgium last year, the idea of a confluence, which was we had shifted back to online conferences, and Anne and Neil were so enamored with the in-person experience that they didn't want to lose that. So they created an in-person parallel process, and they worked together with us. We were very supportive of this idea, and it was very successful. And so Ralph and I, when we were looking at this year's conference, we were like, well, we're focusing exclusively on bioregionalism this year. What better way to do that than to take this confluence format and invite bioregions to gather? And so we've ended up with 45 or more registrations to host confluences across 6 continents, 3 size levels that they're, some are living room, 5 to 10 people, some are sort of medium sized, 10 to 20 people, and some are like, they have to go out and rent a venue to do that. So I guess I'll tell one story. I'm also a confluence organizer for the Northeast Woodlands Bioregioning Collective, and we're gathering at the Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center on the Long Island Sound. And in particular, on the lands of both the Mashantucket Pequot and the Eastern Pequot that we're collaborating closely with. And so one of the things that's exciting is that Mike Thomas from the Mashantucket Pequot has mentioned that we're going to do journeys onto the land to Lantern Hill Pond, which is a sacred site for both the Mashantucket and Eastern Pequot, and the Pequot River. And I'm particularly excited about that because I live at the headwaters of the Pequot River. I'm in that watershed. So this is just an example of some of the ways that, the confluence itself is not just experiencing the content of the conference, but also experiencing things that are unique to our bioregion. So those are the things that are exciting to me. And actually, I'm kind of psyched to hear what's exciting to Ralph, because we often don't necessarily, pull back and think about that. So Ralph, over to you.
Yes, wonderful.
Yeah. And I think it might not be surprising what I'm saying, Bill. I'm more talking from my personal experience, having gone through my own mourning journey, in sort of acknowledging that there is a collapse happening. And of course, also as the managing director of this organization, this is a serious situation. When you work for about a dozen years or more than 10 years on the sort of in the imagination that there is that our work could actually lead to avoiding collapse. And at a certain moment, with all the brilliance of the work, and everybody says it's brilliant, you just realize it's not activated enough so that it can really change our economic system thinking on broader global scale, local, regional, continental, global scale. So this repositioning of R3.0 needed that sort of morning journey to then come out of with so what is it? And as Anna and Neil would say, and now what? So the thing is really that we shifted drastically to ideas how to sort of cluster our work in the field of collapse resilience instead of collapse avoidance. And that had led to what Bill was already describing, to the three sort of strategic pillars: convenings, bioregional knowledge commons, and bioregional governance. And of course, they're all intertwined and relate to each other. But that, of course, also means that your normal funding base will break away. You know, the classical corporate funder would just say, what is this bioregional thing? We don't relate to that. You know, we're globalized, big corporates with big buckets of money, but sorry, we can't fund you because we don't know what this is all about. And, you know, we'll not benefit from it, and so on and so on. So, and with the help of funders that we have, with Lankley Chase and with NOAA Foundation, we were able to build up from scratch, more or less, what our funding model looks like. And then seeing the enthusiasm in the dialogues that we did pre-conference, we're seeing the community building already in the pre-calls of the confluences. And you're seeing that, you know, this, as it's often said, another world is possible. And you're seeing it right in front of your eyes and in front of your hands and in front of your screen very often. That is really something that excites me enormously because, yeah, it has been a serious change in our strategy. And I also want to speak from a personal level, you know, because my wife and I, we were also talking about what does it do with us on a personal level. And knowing that we had benefited from colonial wealth in the past, living in the Netherlands, you know, every brick of stone in the Netherlands breathes colonialism. We just decided that we would also do privately quite drastic decisions. So we were selling our house. We became bioregional and digital nomads, traveling all around Europe and trying to just feel, excite, and experience bioregionalism as it is building up in Europe, because it's still very much behind in Europe. We thought this is a nice role that we can play personally. And of course, we will still have a home base, but yeah, we'll be on the road quite a bit and being bioregional nomads and, you know, dipping into a lot of these confluences that will now also take part in this year. And maybe it's, you know, the other thing is just simply, what will it be next year? Will we be already 100 confluences or maybe 250? Who knows? There are so many of these bioregional learning centers out there that we want to weave together and just create that coherence that's necessary, and where we think that we at R3.0 have a role to play because of our past and the sort of trust that's been given to us over the years of our existence. And we're super excited to see what the future brings.
Wonderful. Yes. No, this is very beautiful and exciting. And what it brings to me, it brings me back to storying and restorying and the fractal nature of stories. You've both spoken about stories at the personal level and stories at, you know, all of these other levels of, and that this is really a space where we can come together and braid together with a different quality of being together. You know, you mentioned how the collapse awareness has sort of brought you to a different quality of engaging and holding a space where people, in a platform to where people can come together with a very different quality of working with emergence and envisioning the futures and co-creating them. And so it's just really beautiful and exciting. And so maybe, since we just have a few minutes left, that I can ask you to wrap up just by sharing any further thoughts of, this sort of evolving multi-level fractal story that, we're all in it together co-creating?
Cool. I'll go ahead and start and do this sort of the same order. I guess, one thing to kind of round out the story, or at least give more substance to the story of the confluences. They're really intended to be a stepping stone towards bioregional congresses in future years. And so we're consciously supporting the confluence organizers to consider stepping into this next level of practice of bioregional congresses. We're very honored to be working very closely with some of those who have done the bioregional congressing practice and really developed it from the get-go over the past decades, almost a half century at this point. So in particular, David Henke will be speaking in a keynote on the Global Confluence Debrief Day, and he is concurrently organizing the 46th Ozark Area Community Congress, OAK, which set the template for this congressing. Also speaking will be Laura Curry, who hosted one of the continental scale bioregional congresses, the first in the Global South in Mexico in 1996. She'll also be presenting and pointing to that idea of congresses happening at the bioregional scale, and then at the continental scale. We've got a history of that on Turtle Island or North America. 10 of those happened between 1984 and 2009. And then at the planetary scale, one thing, I guess I'll end my part with saying that we're also really excited to have Carrie Crisp joining us after that keynote from David and Laura. And Carrie will be sharing on the Turtle Island Bioregional Congress 11, which I'm participating in a small organizing group, and we've just set dates for that. And that's going to be happening next year. I won't steal Carrie's thunder by letting her give the full announcement of that. But we've been working in the background. But the fact that we are revitalizing the continental scale bioregional congress really, we think, helps to provide some examples and guidance for folks looking to do this. So that's my sense of where this story is heading.
Beautiful.
So, Ralph.
Okay. I think one of the other things that just became clear to me in the run-up to this conference is, when it comes to congressing and the next couple of years, we only have one shot. And that to me means being in the middle of this is enlightening, it is exciting, and I'm feeling an enormous level of humbleness. With the ability and the trust that's given to us by many others. So we have to do it well. And we really do our very, very best to do so. And the other thing that sort of strangely becomes interesting to me is, I was speaking in a session this morning of one of the organizations that tries to set natural capital standards. And I'm super duper critical of standards. But they wanted to have me. And they wanted me to talk and give them sort of like a look into the mirror, which I did. And when I look into the other conferences that I'm invited to speak about my view, and very critical, of course, are classical sort of ESG summits, who are starting to somehow feel in their gut, maybe it's not enough what we're doing. And from that perspective, there's also this idea, always keep one door open for all these that seem to be too stubborn to walk in the past. And maybe one or the other comes over and sees the light of this new world that is possible. And the last thing that I want to mention is which is also which I'm also struggling with, or have been struggling with, and where I see bioregionalism has an enormous potential, is that whole idea of the enormous amount of displacement that is going to happen mostly in the global south, and it will not stop at barbed wire at a European or a North American border. So how can we create these islands of coherence that Ilya Prigogine is calling it, when a system that is not in equilibrium, these islands of coherence may be the only chance we have. And my idea is, with what we do with the confluences now and with the bioregions involved, create as many islands of coherence as possible to create resilience to what's going to happen when the displacement really kicks in really harshly. And we know that's going to be 1 billion people on the move by 2050 at latest. So bioregionalism might actually be the only chance to somehow deal with this. So these are just a couple of other thoughts that I had, why this is such an exciting time to be in it and be part of it.
Yes, beautiful. I think islands of coherence and islands of compassion as well for
Oh
this,
yeah.
everything that we're all in together as life on Earth, the only home that we have. And yeah, I think that's a very strong call to action, but also so beautiful to be part of an inspiring movement where people are really energized to make the most of this one shot that we may well have, these next few years being so critical to
Mhm.
the course of life on Earth. So thank you so much to you both, and thank you, Emmanuel. We are deeply honored to be working with you, and very excited and looking forward to the next few days of this conference and all that will come after it. This is, still early days. So thank you very much to you both. And
Thank you.
um,
Thanks to you, Megan.